part of our homework for this Russian class, which used this book as the official textbook, was every single chapter in this book begins with like a sample conversation in Russian, and we had to copy that conversation down and try to translate it into English for the next chapter after the one we were currently studying. Like if we were studying chapter 3, before the next class, we had to bring in the sample discussion from the beginning of chapter 4, written down in Russian, and try to translate it in English. And that is how the entire class of about 20 students ended up showing up with this written down in Russian on pieces of paper and handing it in as homework. Я очень рад, что вы в СССР. Я тоже рада, что я тут. This is the point where the haunted bankrupt would say, give me more, it's Soviet. And FKRZ would face plant on camera and say, fuck, it sucks cock. Because, as I said earlier in this video, I took this class somewhere between 2004 and 2006 at Humboldt State University in Arcata, California, not in like 1970 when the Soviet Union still existed. I'm going to show you this Russian textbook. But before I show you this Russian textbook, I am going to tell you the really interesting story about why I have that Russian textbook. It was sometime between 2004 and 2006. I'm not exactly sure what year it was, but it was when Murray McCall was living at my house, but before he was put on oxygen. I was looking through Humboldt State University's catalog of classes for the next semester, trying to decide what classes I was going to take. And I saw something that made me jump up and scream in excitement. What I saw said, Russian language, level 1. I jumped up with excitement. I turned around to Murray, who was sitting in the chair behind me, and I said, Murray, I figured out what class I'm going to take next semester, Russian. And then I excitedly started explaining to him that I knew how to read and write Russian, but only knew how to speak a few words of it. Murray looked at me, kind of funny, raised one of his eyebrows, and said, really? Me too. I said, huh? Really? Yes, come to find out that I had known this guy for like more than 10 years, but didn't know that due to bizarre circumstances, both of us ended up being adults who knew how to read and write Russian. What's hot? But were unable to speak it. What's hot? The chips or something? So, since Murray is unfortunately no longer alive, I guess I'm going to tell you the stories, both of our stories, of how we ended up being adults who both could read and write Russian without being able to speak more than a few words. Because that's weird. That's not normal in America. It's uncommon for Americans to speak a little bit of Russian or to be able to read it. But what's even more uncommon is for Americans to know how to read and write Russian and not be able to speak it. And the likelihood of two of them ending up being friends for 10 years and living in the same house must be so unlikely that it's like almost improbable. So without further ado, I am going to tell you the interesting and bizarre stories of how me and Murray McCall learned to read and write Russian without being able to speak it. So when Murray told me the story about how he learned to read and write Russian without being able to speak it, he didn't tell me when this happened. But sometime during his adult life, he happened to be at a grocery store. There was a woman there who was a Russian immigrant with her little girl, her daughter who was like 2 or 3 years old, and her daughter started having a tantrum, and the mother could not calm the little girl down. Murray then walked up, smiled, made a funny face, and the little girl immediately calmed down. Murray and the little girl's mother struck up a conversation. Come to find out, he was out of a job and currently looking for a job, and she was desperately looking for a nanny who could calm her daughter's tantrums. She ended up hiring him as a nanny, and one thing he had to do was read her bedtime stories, either before her naps or before she went to bed for the night. The little girl had an extensive collection of children's books, but because the family was bilingual and spoke both English and Russian, about half of them were in Russian. And when she wanted a bedtime story read to her in Russian, and Murray didn't know how to read it, she would become horribly upset and have one of her awful tantrums. So Murray, who was a highly intelligent person, got a great idea. He asked the mother to write down all of the letters in the Russian alphabet and then write down how to pronounce them in English. He spent about 1 day studying it and taught himself how to read and write Russian. He was then able to read the little girl children's books in Russian, and even though he did not understand one single word that he was saying, because Russian is so phonetic, if you know how to pronounce the letters, you can basically read it and sound like a native speaker, even though you have absolutely no idea what you were saying. Look, what mattered was that the little girl understood what he was saying well enough that she felt like somebody was reading her a bedtime story in Russian. So she would always say spasiba, which means thank you in Russian. So that was like one of the 3 or 4 Russian words that he knew how to say when he ended up living at my house, God knows how many years later, because I don't know if this happened to him when he was like 20 or 40. I met him in his like mid 40s and he was in his like early 50s when this happened. The way that I learned to read and write Russian without actually being able to speak it might be slightly more of an absurd story than Murray McCall's. So when I was in 4th grade, I was going to this private school that my parents paid a lot of money to send me to in Jersey City, New Jersey. I'm not going to name the school, but they subjected me to numerous... What?
I need a Ziploc bag.
A Ziploc bag? They're right there.
Right.
Look down in the paper bag right by your feet. I don't want to talk about my school experiences in front of Eugene.
What's school experience?
From 1st to 5th grade, I attended a private school in Jersey City, New Jersey. I don't know how much money my parents paid to send me to this awful, ridiculous private school, but I know they paid a lot of money. Okay? And I had some horrific experiences at this private school that I am not going to discuss in this video that actually very likely could be considered to be child abuse. But right now I'm going to talk about how this private school that made all of the students study Spanish and Latin and made many of them study French, and at one point tried to teach the entire 1st grade class to read and write Hindi, taught me how to read Russian when I was in 4th grade. So when I was in 4th grade, the school was going to have some kind of school presentation. I think it was like the Thanksgiving presentation, and because of like the Pilgrims discovering America and having Thanksgiving with the Indians, they wanted to make it like a multicultural celebration to celebrate like different cultures meeting each other and becoming friends or something. So they decided that every single class in the school was going to sing a different song in a different foreign language. So the school had students from kindergarten to 6th grade. That was it. 7 grades. I think they got the kindergartners singing a song in English, the 1st and 2nd graders singing a song in Spanish, the 3rd graders singing a song in French, and by the time they got to the 4th grade, they were scratching their heads wondering what they could do, what language they could teach the 4th grade a song in to make their presentation seem more multicultural. Luckily, the 5th grade teacher spoke Russian, having had immigrated to America from Russia because she was fleeing the oppression of the Soviet Union. So the 5th grade teacher marched into our 4th grade classroom and told the class that she was going to teach us to sing a Russian children's song that she said was called At Ulebki. But she said it like At Ulebki, like it was one word. So I googled this song before making this video and found out that it is actually probably most likely called Ulebka, and At Ulebki are like the first 2 words in the song, and it's a Russian children's song from the Soviet Union era that encouraged children to smile all of the time, no matter what was horribly wrong with their lives, because they were living in and being oppressed by the Soviet Union. So the teacher tried to teach the 4th grade class to sing this song, but the problem was she tried to teach it to them verbatim by singing one line and then trying to get the class to repeat it. Unfortunately, Russian has combinations of consonants that do not exist in English, like z or ts at the beginning of a word, and vowel sounds like oi that do not exist in English. So it was like trying to get a group of children to repeat like abject gibberish. They couldn't even understand what she was saying, much less repeat it. And after an hour of frustrated children trying to repeat like 1 or 2 lines of this song in Russian, school ended for the day. And as all of the children were packing up their backpacks and grabbing their jackets to get ready to go home, I walked up to the teacher and I was like crying in frustration, and I said, I really want to learn this song. Can you do me a favor and just write it down for me? She said, I can do better than that. I have a book from when I was in kindergarten and this song is printed in it. I'll make you a photocopy and I'll bring it to you tomorrow. So tomorrow came around, and when I first got to school, before I even went to my own classroom, I went to the 5th grade classroom. I went up to that teacher and I asked her if she had photocopied that song for me. She said yes, but there was a problem. It was in Russian, and I didn't know how to read or write Russian. So I looked at what she had printed out. I saw like letters that looked like English letters, and symbols I didn't recognize, and letters that looked like they had been turned backwards, like the Russian ya. So being the intelligent person that I was, I said, can you write down how to pronounce these letters in English? The teacher scratched her head for a minute, thought about it, and then painstakingly and very carefully wrote all of the Russian letters on a piece of paper and wrote down how to pronounce them in English. And there were a few she had to explain to me, like the huh, like the X is a huh. It's like a sound that doesn't really exist in English unless you're irritated and you're like, huh, I'm so irritated. Yes, seriously, people do make sounds that do not exist in English, but exist in Russian or Arabic when they're frustrated in English. Like one of my friends used to go whenever she was irritated. That's the word for sister in Arabic anyway, people. Sorry for my little digression. So this teacher, bless her heart, wrote down the entire Russian alphabet and how all the letters were pronounced in English, and explained to me how to pronounce letters that made sounds that didn't exist in English. When she gave me this piece of paper, she said, this is probably going to be way too hard for you. You're not going to get a bad grade if you don't memorize this. You're not going to get in trouble. I'm just doing this for you because you asked me for it, but honestly, you probably will not be able to learn this. Do not try too hard to do so. What this teacher didn't know is that me and several of my friends in our class had read this book on how to pass notes in class without the teachers being able to read said notes. And the book explained how to make a basic cipher. You assign certain letters to mean other letters, like the A means the B and the B means the A, or you create your own symbols, or you turn English letters upside down or backwards. And every morning we would create a new cipher so the teacher wouldn't catch on. So like learning the Russian alphabet was no more difficult than learning one of my friend Andrew's ciphers. Like, that is literally like what Russian is. Most of the letters are the same as English letters, pronounced either exactly the same or a little bit differently. Some of the letters are English letters, but they make a different sound than another English letter makes. For example, a capital B in Russian is pronounced like a V, a lowercase b in Russian with a little hook on it is pronounced like a B. And then they have letters like the ya, which is an R that looks like it is backwards, that is pronounced like ya, not R. So learning Russian was no more difficult than learning one of these ciphers made by my 4th grade classmate that made us able to pass notes in the class saying nasty things about other classmates and the teachers without people having any idea what we were saying. Like, I learned it in a few hours as I learned to sing that entire song. And the next morning, I triumphantly went to school and sang Atu Lipki or Ulipka or whatever the song is called to the 4th grade teacher, the 5th grade teacher, and the principal. The principal then said, "How many other 4th graders have learned this song?" Proudly, the 4th and 5th grade teacher said, "Adrienne is the only one who's learned it. The rest of them are struggling." The principal said, "Really? Because the parents are complaining that this is just like too hard. We're canceling this. We're going to have them sing a song in English." I think they had us sing like a Happy Thanksgiving song or a Merry Christmas song or some bullshit stupid song that all the children already knew. But we certainly didn't sing anything in Russian. And I was so upset because I tried so hard to learn this song in Russian that I even asked if I could just like sing it myself during the school presentation, and they said no. It would make all the other students in my class feel bad because they weren't able to learn it and I was. Yes, seriously. So after that, because I was like really upset about this, the teacher wrote down like 20 words in Russian and said she was going to give me Russian lessons, and she like gave it to me and sent me home with it. And then a few months later, she like stopped teaching at that school and my Russian lessons ended. And that is how, as an adult, I ended up being able to read and write Russian while only being able to speak about 20 words of it. Yeah, seriously. So even though he was in his 50s and had dropped out of high school and had also spent many years in prison, Murray McCall's eyes lit up when I said that Russian class was available. And because of his age, he was able to enroll in it without paying the normal admission fees. He did have to pay some kind of fee. I'm pretty sure I paid for him to take the class with me. And we were like the best students because we could read and write Russian fluently, so we could learn any word really easily. And by the way, the teacher really liked our handwriting. She thought it was adorable. The only issue she had was with the way I pronounced toy. She said I pronounced toy wrong, and fortunately, she had a great solution for this problem. She wanted to take me to her apartment, get me drunk on Russian vodka, and then teach me how to pronounce toy properly. If there are any Russians watching this video at this point, they're going to like face plant. Because I did end up going to the teacher's apartment and getting drunk, not on Russian vodka because I'm way too much of a lightweight for that, but on about like 3 or 4 glasses of wine, and it definitely didn't make me able to pronounce Russian like a fluent speaker. No, I could barely pronounce English because I was slurring my speech so badly, and they had to like damn near carry me out of there because I could barely walk. And by the way, a few other people from the class were at her house at the time, which made it all the more embarrassing. Like, to this day, if I see one of those people in public, because if two of them still live in Humboldt County, I can like not even look them in the eye. I say, "Oh, hi, nice to see you again. Are you still studying Russian?" Like, I can't even look at them. That's how bad of an embarrassment I made of myself after drinking like 4 glasses of her Russian wine. Russian vodka probably would have hospitalized me. And part of our homework for this Russian class, which used this book as the official textbook, was every single chapter in this book begins with like a sample conversation in Russian, and we had to copy that conversation down and try to translate it into English for the next chapter after the one we were currently studying. Like if we were studying chapter 3, before the next class, we had to bring in the sample discussion from the beginning of chapter 4, written down in Russian, and try to translate it in English. And that is how the entire class of about 20 students ended up showing up with this written down in Russian on pieces of paper and handing it in as homework. Я очень рад, что вы в СССР. Я тоже рада, что я тут. This is the point where the haunted bankrupt would say, give me more, it's Soviet. And FKRZ would face plant on camera and say, fuck, it sucks cock. Because, as I said earlier in this video, I took this class somewhere between 2004 and 2006 at Humboldt State University in Arcata, California, not in like 1970 when the Soviet Union still existed. So this is the textbook they made us use, printed in 1975, originally, of course, when the Soviet Union did still exist. And I would like to end this video by showing you Humboldt State University's official Arabic textbook. From when I took an Arabic class there, about a year after I took the Russian class that used this book, which is meant to be used as a textbook at Islamic children's schools and funded by the government of Saudi Arabia, as one of the first words it teaches you, Hada Masjid, meaning this is a mosque, of course, in the middle of the first page. And if anyone is wondering, yes, I can read and write Arabic about as fluently as I can read and write English or Russian. And in the back of this book are, of course, advertisements for books about the Quran. Welcome to Humboldt State University, people. Yes, seriously. And if anyone thinks I am criticizing Muslims in this video, I am not. Ramadan Mubarak. Ramadan starts in a few days. I am not criticizing Muslims. I just think that it is hilariously funny that Humboldt State University cannot teach a foreign language without pushing some kind of propaganda down their students' throats. Thank you for watching this video. Bye, people.